Welcome to Thursday. It's March 13th, 2025. That Pacific storm system is approaching. It's now along the west coast. We'll be moving into the Great Basin states, and areas along and west of the divide will feel the impacts first. They're getting rain and snow in California and across the Pacific Northwest, but we're seeing a pretty big push of that moisture further eastward off the coast. If you're along and east of the divide, you'll have another mild, breezy day. Along and west of the divide, clouds will be thickening and increasing. As we get into tonight and Friday, as we've been mentioning, this is a fast-moving storm system. So this is going to limit the moisture east of the divide. But the high country will get a good shot of snow. There will be some scattered rain and snow on the plains, but you'll notice the cold and you're going to notice the wind the most. Friday and Saturday will be a little bit of a shock to the system after several days of very mild spring-like weather. The next storm system arrives Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. It won't be a monster storm, but it's a bit more moist and it's slower moving, so we'll keep an eye on that one. We'll also update you on the cloud forecast for the lunar eclipse happening late tonight and early tomorrow morning. Here's a nice time lapse of that lenticular cloud pattern that we saw a couple of days ago from Jen Curtis. If you can see as you go over time, those lenticular clouds don't move very much because of the standing wave that develops downwind of the front range. And we're going to see a lot of high and mid-level clouds increasing and thickening across the area today. Unfortunately, you don't want that before an eclipse tonight. Spring-looking clouds across southeastern Wyoming and the region yesterday. The moose are out looking for those buds, those tender buds that are forming on the trees right now. Beautiful shots of the clouds, the snow on the mountains, and the color. We can see that from Leadville, Colorado to Ennis, Montana, and those deep blue skies on the west side of the Tetons there in eastern Idaho. But if we go further west, well, over Mesa, Arizona, the clouds moving in, a great shot of the moon with clouds. Yes, clouds in Arizona. They're going to get a chance of rain and snow again across the southwestern United States, which they need. And then a great shot here from Mammoth Lakes, California, yesterday afternoon of that Pacific moisture moving on in. So you just saw the blue skies, the beautiful cloudscapes, but here approaching the west coast, here comes the next Pacific system, which you can see right there. Good moisture with this system. As it hits the west coast and moves into the interior, the basin and ranges of the Great Basin will be really taking a lot of the moisture away from the system as it heads east. And you can see on the radar this morning, extensive areas of rain. And you can see the blue there along Interstate 80 across the northern Great Basin and across the Pacific Northwest. This is the National Weather Service advisory and warnings that will be in place today. As we'll talk about here in a moment, this is all for wind. So we talked about this will be a very windy system once it jumps east of the divide, and boy, there it is. But we also got a lot of purple and pink from California, Washington, and Oregon into Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the mountains of Colorado and Utah, the rim country of Arizona, the mountains of western New Mexico. So basically, you can see what's going on here. You get along and east of the divide, it's all about the wind. Along and west of the divide, it's all about the moisture. So think of the mountains in this region right here. It's kind of like the IRS. The storms come in, that's your gross pay. This is your net pay. When it comes to what's left of these storms when they jump over the mountains like this, if we don't have that moisture inflow from the Gulf, you're just not going to get a plain storm. So the system will be a good snowpack producer, but a good wind producer on the plains. Although as we showed you later on, as the storm matures, it will produce some snow up here. Into Wyoming, you can see wind advisories and wind warnings in effect for the wind-prone areas of I-25 and I-80. We do have enough snow coming in tomorrow. The places like Sheridan and Casper, along the rim country, the Beaver Rim area right here, Sweetwater area, the mountains of southern Wyoming, then of course the mountains of western Wyoming, you're going to get into several inches of snow and wind as that front comes through. So there it is as of noon today. By noon tomorrow, look at the speed of this system. Yikes. Zipping along. And by Saturday, it's all right into the Arrowhead of Minnesota. So there's really no change from what we showed you yesterday. So the system is just going to continue to move along. The precipitation between now and Sunday looks like this. You're going to get the heavier snow that's going to form up into this area here. You're going to see the snow in the mountains, but it's just like someone took a straight edge and says, well, if you're east of the mountains, you're just going to get a few showers and a lot of wind. But you see a lot of the red here, over 4 inches of water equivalent coming on into the mountains of Oregon there. So good for the snowpack, good snowpack buildup for the Sierras. And finally, more snow for the Arizona mountains. Arizona is getting more snow in their mountains right now than they did in December, January, or February. There you can see the snowfall. Watch this area right here for some winter storm conditions later on. This gets us through Sunday. There are the wind gusts. Looks the same. Very windy with this storm along and east of the Continental Divide. We talked about severe weather. Boy, is there going to be a lot of severe weather tomorrow. Right in the red area here is where you got to watch. This area right here, the orange and the yellow areas as well. We're going to have the first probably large-scale severe outbreak of the early spring season tomorrow. And by Saturday, a lot of severe weather shifts more south and east with that low coming through. As we get into Sunday and Monday, a broad area of high pressure and westerly flow returns. So, you know what that means. Pacific air floods the country again. So, after much colder weather tomorrow and Saturday, a nice warm-up Sunday into Monday, then this next low comes in off the west coast. There's a lot of disagreement, with the modeling on what happens with the slow after it moves off the west coast. The European model is the slowest of all the models, and it does take it right through Colorado as we get into Tuesday night, and Wednesday morning before it heads on through. It's not going to cut off and become a slow mover, but it's not going to be moving as quickly. So that does bring an opportunity for some moisture out on into the plains. Again, this is not a lot, but you can see we've got an area here that may pick up some moisture. With this system, this would probably be mostly in the form of snow as it comes over the divide, but it'll produce also more snow into the high country. And then if we go back and look at the upper level map, we've got other waves up here. So they're going to keep coming. So this is a really good pattern for the mountains. What we need is a slower moving storm system that comes down to the four corners here and wants to sit for a day or two to bring that upslope into the plains, to bring that wet storm we're all waiting for east of the divide. But right now it's the mountains and west of the divide that will get the best opportunities for precipitation. Quick update on the lunar eclipse. These are the times we showed you yesterday for the total lunar eclipse tonight. Unfortunately, the cloud forecast looks about the same. If you want any clear skies, you're going to have to venture into this territory right here. But notice we do have some gaps, at least in terms of what the models see. So you're going to probably have some gaps in the clouds, maybe some opportunities, even in the areas that show 100% cloud cover. But we've got some areas where there might be some gaps where you might be able to catch the lunar eclipse tonight. Have yourself a great Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.